My name's Eric. I'm 41 years old. I've been married to Melissa for 16 years. We have 2 kids. A boy who just turned 10 and a girl who still calls me her hero. I work in logistics for a construction firm. Melissa runs a local bakery. On paper, we had everything figured out. And still, for the last 4 years, I've lived a double life. It started slow. No big, dramatic fall. Just one missed call. One late night conversation. One excuse. 4 years ago, I was assigned to a project out in Oregon. Nothing unusual, just another 2-week stint managing shipments. But the client kept changing plans, and 2 weeks stretched into nearly 2 months. I was staying at a roadside motel that had a leaky faucet and a view of a dumpster. The kind of place that doesn't ask questions. That's where I met Rachel. She worked nights at a bar a block away. Nothing flashy, old floors, dim lighting, worn down pool table. But she stood out. Not because she was loud or flirtatious. The opposite. She had this calm to her. Observant. Sharp. She didn't laugh unless she meant it. We talked the second night I went in. I told her I was married, but said Melissa and I were taking space. That was the beginning of the lie. A small shift in wording. A crack in the foundation. I told myself I was just venting. That talking to someone wasn't cheating. That sleeping in a different bed for work didn't mean anything. But I looked forward to seeing Rachel. I'd linger at the bar even after the rest of the crew left. She asked me about my day like it mattered. She remembered little things, how I took my coffee, the way I hated loud music. We didn't sleep together. Not then. But we kissed in the back alley behind the bar the night before I flew home. Her hands smelled like soap and whiskey. Mine shook the whole ride to the airport. I told myself it was just a mistake. A moment. But I already knew I'd be back. When I got back home after the trip, things were normal. Too normal. Melissa had baked my favorite blueberry scones just because. The kids had made a welcome back card. Our daughter drew all of us holding hands under a big sun with smiley faces. I stared at that drawing longer than I should have. The guilt was there, sure. But it was quiet. Manageable. I tucked it away like an overdue bill you plan to deal with later. I convinced myself nothing truly happened. Just a kiss. Just a bad moment. A lapse. I didn't even tell my best friend. That's how I knew it wasn't just some drunken accident. I was hiding it because it meant something. But time moved on. Life doesn't pause for your internal breakdown. A few months later, another West Coast project came up, this time in southern Washington, but close enough. I didn't hesitate. Told Melissa it was important. She hugged me goodbye like she always did. Trusted me like she always did. I texted Rachel that night. Just in town next week. You free? She replied in less than a minute. Always. It felt like flipping a switch. This time it did happen. I stayed in her apartment, told my coworkers I was crashing with a cousin to save the company money. I cooked her scrambled eggs. She made me playlists for the drive to the site. We laughed a lot. Slept even more. I held her like I hadn't held anyone in years, not out of lust, but peace. I kept telling myself, I'm not leaving Melissa. I love my kids. This is just a chapter. Something temporary. But the thing about lying, it gets easier. At home, I played the same old role. Sunday pancakes. Fixing the kitchen drawer. PTA meetings. At night, I'd scroll through pictures of Rachel in bed while Melissa brushed her teeth 2 rooms away. I had 2 lives now. And for a while, I thought I could handle it. Rachel told me she was pregnant on a rainy Tuesday. We were sitting in her car outside a gas station. She hadn't even turned off the engine. The rain was hitting the windshield in slow, heavy drops, and she just stared ahead, hands gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping her from floating away. "I made weeks," she said. My heart didn't race. It stopped. Not in panic, not yet. In stillness. In total silence. Like the world around me had suddenly gone on mute. No music. No rain. Just her voice echoing. She turned to me slowly. "I'm not asking for anything. I just need to know what this means for you. For us." I nodded. Lied again. "I'll be here. Whatever you need." But my mind was already thousands of miles away, back home, imagining Melissa at the kitchen table, checking her calendar, completely unaware that her husband had just created a second family. The next few weeks were a blur. I flew home and tried to act normal. Played Monopoly with the kids. Took Melissa out for Italian. Sat across from her while she told me she was proud of me for managing everything so well. If only she knew. I told Rachel I'd help. That I'd cover everything. I wired her money from a side account I opened under the name Consulting Reimbursement. She never asked for proof. Never doubted. She trusted me. And I started trusting the lie. When Toby was born, I wasn't there. I told Rachel I couldn't get away, that there was a company audit. The truth? I sat on the edge of our bathtub for 4 hours staring at my phone, watching her messages coming one by one. "He's here. 7 pounds 9 ounces healthy. He looks like you." And then, the one that broke me. "Do you want a photo, or is that too real?" I didn't answer. Not for 3 days. Because yeah, it was too real. And yet, for the first time, I realized, this isn't a fantasy. It's not an affair. It's a second life. And I'm a father in both. The first time I held Toby, he was already 9 months old. Rachel didn't push it. She never guilted me, never screamed. She just kept the door unlocked when I finally booked that flight to Portland, and she let me walk in at my own pace. Her apartment smelled like baby powder and coffee. The floor creaked like it remembered me. He was napping when I arrived. When he woke up, she placed him in my arms without a word. He looked up at me like I was just another face. No judgment. No history. Just pure innocence. And I felt everything collapse inside me. The walls I built. The lies I'd rehearsed. They didn't matter anymore. I was his dad. Whether I was ready or not. The next few visits blurred together. I found ways to travel without raising red flags. Emergency supplier meetings, crew shortages, flooding at the site. I had a dozen excuses lined up like dominoes. Melissa never questioned me. At least, not out loud. Toby started recognizing me. Reaching for me. Crawling toward the door when I walked in. Saying "Dada" before he even knew what it meant. And each time I flew home, I carried that sound in my chest like a knife I couldn't pull out. Because my daughter, my firstborn, was asking me why I missed her recital. Why I was so tired. Why I stopped telling bedtime stories with the same silly voices. And I had no answers. Only more lies. I used to believe love was infinite. That I could stretch it between two families without losing anything. But I was wrong. Love has a cost. Time. Energy. Presence. You can't give two kids your full heart when half of it is always somewhere else. Rachel told me she wanted Toby to know me. Really know me. Not just when it was convenient. I nodded, made promises. But even I knew I couldn't keep them. At home, Melissa started asking softer questions. The kind that don't accuse, they expose. Are you happy? Is there someone else? Would you tell me if there was? I told her what she needed to hear. Because I was still trying to keep everything alive, the marriage, the secret, the fatherhood. But I didn't realize something was already dying. Me. It happened on a Sunday morning. Melissa was cleaning out the fridge. I was sipping coffee at the table, scrolling through work emails I had no intention of answering. The kids were in the living room, half watching cartoons, half gluing sequins to construction paper. Then my daughter walked over with a big smile and said, "Daddy, look." It was a drawing, classic 6-year-old art. Stick figures, hearts, a house with smoke curling from the chimney. But there were 5 people. Not 4. I stared at it too long. Long enough for Melissa to notice. The extra figure was small, with a yellow circle of hair. A little boy. "Who's this?" Melissa asked, gently. Our daughter beamed. "That's Toby. He's Daddy's other kid." My hand went cold. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Melissa didn't react. Not really. She smiled like she didn't hear it right, kissed our daughter's forehead, and sent her back to the glitter explosion in the other room. She didn't look at me. Didn't ask. Just kept organizing the fridge like everything was fine. But I knew. That was the moment everything shifted. That night, she didn't kiss me goodnight. The lights stayed off when I climbed into bed. The silence was so loud it rang in my ears. And still, I said nothing. Because saying something would make it real. And I wasn't ready. The next week, I flew to Portland. Site inspection, I told her. She didn't argue. She just nodded like a robot. No kiss. No smile. No eyes. When I got to Rachel's, Toby ran to the door yelling "Dad! Dad!" with this full-bellied laugh that cut me in half. I picked him up. Held him tighter than usual. Rachel noticed. "You okay?" she asked. I wanted to lie. But my voice cracked when I said, "No." She didn't push. Just rubbed Toby's back and said, "He missed you." I nodded. But I couldn't shake the image of that drawing. Because Melissa didn't need proof anymore. She knew. When I got back from Portland, Melissa was sitting in the living room with all the lights off. Just the soft glow of the hallway behind her. She didn't say welcome back. Didn't ask how the trip went. She just looked at me. And in that look, something was gone. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even sadness. It was absence. The next few days passed in quiet motion. We went through routines like actors in a play we both knew the ending of. School drop-offs, work emails, dinner without talking. The kids filled the space with noise and drawings and questions. But Melissa and I? We were like ghosts in the same house. She started sleeping with her back to me. Not curled in, like before. Just turned away. One night, I got up to go to the bathroom and caught a glimpse of her phone screen. She was Googling. Signs your husband is cheating. How to confront a liar without proof. How to protect your kids during a separation. I stood frozen in the hallway. My throat dried out. I wanted to turn back, to climb into bed and pull her close and say, "I'm sorry, please don't leave, I'm a coward, but I love you." But I did nothing. Because I still hadn't made a choice. Because I was still trying to live both lives. At Rachel's, things weren't better. She'd started asking when I was going to tell Melissa. When Toby could come visit me in Missouri. When she could stop being the hidden part of my life. I gave her vague timelines. Promised I just needed a little more time. She didn't believe me anymore. I could hear it in the way her voice got flatter each time she asked. Back home, Melissa started locking her phone. Started going on walks alone. Started watching me, but not saying a word. It was like waiting for an avalanche. Every day I came home wondering if this was the day my things would be packed, if she'd say my name like a stranger again. And somehow, that waiting was worse than anything. Because it meant I had already lost her. It happened on a Thursday. The kids were at school. Melissa said she needed to talk. Just that, no emotion, no build-up. I I need to talk before dinner. Like it was a grocery list. She waited until the house was quiet, then sat across from me at the kitchen table. Same spot where we used to plan birthdays. Same table where we carved pumpkins with the kids last October. And then she slid a folder across the table. Inside were printouts, flight receipts, screenshots, a photo of Rachel holding Toby outside her apartment. One of me blurry, but clear enough, carrying groceries into her building. I didn't hire anyone, she said. I just started paying attention. I couldn't speak. Is he yours? She asked. Calm. Controlled. Yes. She nodded. No tears. Just a small breath. Like she'd been underwater and finally came up. How long? 4 years. She looked away. I thought maybe she was going to scream. But she didn't. She just stared at the fridge, like it would give her the strength I clearly didn't. I loved you, she said quietly. Not the fantasy of you. You. Even when you were tired, distant, cruel. I didn't know what to say. What words could possibly work? You took the life we built, she continued, and split it in half. And now I don't even know which parts were real. I never stopped loving you, I said, the most pathetic thing I could have said in that moment. Her laugh was small. Bitter. You just loved 2 lives more than one woman. Silence. Then she stood, walked to the living room, and handed me a small suitcase. I'm not kicking you out. Not yet. But I need space. The kids need honesty. You don't belong here right now. Not ever again. Just right now. But we both heard what she meant. I took the bag. I drove to a motel off the highway. The room smelled like bleach and mildew. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my hands for hours. And for the first time in years, there was no excuse left. Only truth. And silence. The motel had flickering lights and a vending machine that ate my dollar. I didn't complain. Didn't ask for another room. I didn't feel like I deserved anything better. The first night, I lay on the bed fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. It had this brown stain shaped like an island, the kind you find on old maps. I kept imagining it spreading, slowly, endlessly. Just like what I'd done. I didn't call Rachel. I didn't call Melissa. I didn't call anyone. I tried to text my daughter goodnight, but I couldn't figure out what to say. What do you text a child when you've just detonated her family? Sweet dreams from the father who ruined everything? No. So I said nothing. In the morning, I woke up early out of habit. My body still thought it needed to make coffee, pack lunches, check school emails. I sat in the car outside our house for 10 minutes. I could see Melissa through the window, making eggs, her back turned. The kids sitting at the table, still laughing. Still eating. They looked okay. But I wasn't part of the picture anymore. Later that day, Rachel messaged. You told her? I answered. She already knew. She didn't reply for hours. When she did, it was just one sentence. So now what? And the truth is, I didn't know. I don't know. I'm not ready to be with Rachel. I'm not ready to be without Melissa. And I sure as hell don't know how to be a good father to 2 kids when I've failed both already. I thought losing everything would come with more sound. More drama. But it's quiet. The quiet of no one needing you. The quiet of no one checking where you are. The quiet of consequence. And regret. A week after I left, Melissa texted me. The kids need to see you. Come by Saturday. 1 hour. Just that. No emojis. No warmth. But it felt like mercy. When I pulled into the driveway, my son was shooting hoops alone. He didn't run to me. He didn't yell. He just looked over, then kept playing. I stood there for a second too long before walking toward the house. Inside, my daughter was sitting at the kitchen table with a box of markers. She didn't say hi. Just handed me a folded paper without looking up. It was another drawing. 4 people. 3 smiling. 1, a little man in the corner, had no face. That was me. Melissa stood in the hallway, arms crossed. You have 45 minutes. The kids didn't ask questions. Not really. They just wanted to be with me. We played a board game. My son beat me and smirked. My daughter let me braid her hair. The normalcy of it felt like a hallucination, something beautiful and broken happening at the same time. Before I left, I turned to Melissa. Can we talk? She shook her head. I've heard enough. But I haven't told you. I know. You haven't told me anything for years. Why start now? I looked at her, really looked. Her shoulders were straighter. Her jaw clenched. She looked like someone who had already buried the part of her that loved me. And I couldn't blame her. She let me hug the kids goodbye. She didn't watch. That was the last time I was in that house. I live in a 1-bedroom rental now. Beige walls. Thin windows. The neighbor's dog barks at 2 a.m. most nights. No photos on the walls. Just a mattress, a table, and a kettle I never use. Rachel and I don't talk much anymore. She let me see Toby once last month, a supervised visit, like I was a stranger. He ran to me. Laughed when I picked him up. And then cried when I left. She says she won't let him get attached to someone unstable. She's right. I'm still figuring out who I even am without the lies, the juggling, the performance. Sometimes I catch myself scrolling through old photos on my phone. Melissa in a sun hat on the beach. My daughter holding up a worm in the backyard. My son asleep on my chest. Moments that felt eternal, and now feel like they belong to someone else entirely. I thought I was being brave. Thought I was pursuing freedom, feeling fulfillment. But now, with nothing left to pretend, I finally see it. I wasn't chasing something. I was running. From routine. From expectations. From the terrifying idea that maybe I wasn't enough for the life I built. And in the process, I broke it. Some mornings, I wake up and don't know which version of myself I'm supposed to be. The good dad? The failed husband? The liar who meant well? Mostly, I'm just the man in the mirror. Quiet. Alone. Honest, finally, and late. If you're listening to this, and you think you can live 2 lives without hurting anyone, you can't. Someone always pays. And if you're lucky, it's just you.